Who thought up these? What twisted, disgusting mind could dream up these people? You know, every week I feel like our history segments are sprawling out of control and our running times just going up and up and up. And I'm like, next time, not going to happen.
You've been quite the research whore lately.
There's so much on the Addams Family. So I'll try to keep it condensed, but let's meet Charles Addams. Okay. He created the Addams Family. And I always knew that the Addams Family, obviously I knew that there was a TV show and I knew that TV show was based on comics. If you'd asked me, I would have said they're either like Sunday comics, they're like King Feature Syndicate characters or something, or maybe they're from the Archie universe. But
like a situation where there's a grid of pictures, multiple pictures in a row to tell a short story.
It could have either been Sunday comics like Popeye. It could have been like Archie comics where you have a whole book.
Oh, sure. But I'm saying multiple pictures, right? Mm-hmm. Multiple pictures in one sitting to tell a story and a little joke story. A linear story,
yes. Or Harvey comics like Richie Rich. But no, they're from the New Yorker.
Posh as hell.
Lacey, how would you characterize New Yorker comics?
Highbrow.
Yeah,
you need to be in
one panel,
in the know.
Usually one sentence and you read it and
a lot of times political or just very like I lined up like push my nose up at it, enjoy it. A
lot of jokes about therapy and
crotchety white people jokes maybe.
Yep. And hey,
New Yorker jokes.
That's what it's been for They're That Way Today. I grabbed the most recent New Yorker comic and like, yep, this could have been published in 1938. It's always the same thing.
This isn't the Addams Family.
No. Okay. So Charles Addams, let's meet the man. Charles Addams, aka Chaz.
I'm sorry, is that a sex dummy? There's a picture of him with a
Morticia.
A Morticia-like
doll.
Half woman. Okay.
Chaz was born in 1912. He started working as a New Yorker cartoonist in 1932. He continued working there until his death in 1988
and beyond.
And he loved the macabre. Mm-mm. That's the word that's always associated with him and with the Addams Family is the macabre.
Okay.
So pertaining to death, he liked joking about death. He liked being interested, having death be a presence in life. He's kind of a Wednesday Addams character himself.
Yeah, kind of not Delia Dietz. Help me out here. Lydia Dietz.
Yes.
Kind of a Lydia Dietz.
And he was a socialite and a playboy. He dated lots of famous women, including Greta Garbo, which blew my mind. Also Joan Fontaine and Jackie Kennedy the year after John F. Kennedy died.
Too soon.
This is
do you, boo.
A time where, you can be a cartoonist, but also be like a rich New York socialite. But
so
I guess
it's strictly cartooned.
That's what he did for a living.
And snatched the poon.
It's what he did. Both
old school pussy posse.
Of one, though.
Pussy posse of one.
Just him and his drawings.
Wow.
But I guess if you're doing it for the New Yorker, he's also, I think, a way, if you said, I like the work of Charles Addams, that could signal like, I'm highbrow, but I'm a little bit strange myself.
I might be kinky in the bedroom. I tried to do boudoir. I tried to do boudoir with bedroom. I'm sorry.
Alfred Hitchcock was a fan. Salvador Dali was a fan. There is a Cary Grant in North by Northwest mentions Charles Addams by name. This was a very famous man. Yes. He was married to 3 consecutive women who physically resembled Morticia Addams. All of them.
Do you think he cut their hair?
Like Jimmy Stewart and.
But that's what I'm saying. Is it a chicken or the egg?
I think it's an egg because he invents Morticia first and then seems to seek out women who look like Morticia. He also seemed to he wanted to cultivate the idea that he was weird and like lived in a creepy castle and like had tombstones for tables and stuff. But his biographer said this was an act. He was a very like normal guy.
Got it. Well, that explains the wholesomeness of the Addams Family at its core.
Yeah. Yeah. He said
they're lovable.
He said the only weird thing about me is I'm the only writer who had a nice childhood. So his second wife used weird legal maneuvers to secure the rights to his characters. They were married for 2 years. They get divorced in 1956 and she ends up with the rights to the characters.
Rude.
So the next, 10 years later, when they're trying to make the show, they have to buy her off to be able to get his characters back. Okay. But so he creates these guys in the New Yorker magazine. 1938, we meet the Addams Family for the first time. Of course, they're not called that. Indeed, they don't have names until the TV show. They're unnamed. They're just Mr. Addams's funny characters. So over, 20 years, there's only 58 total cartoons. He published 1,300 total cartoons, but only 58 of them are the Addamses. They're kind of like darkly satirical. You get a lot of jokes about the children poisoning each other, and a lot of jokes that turn up in the movie. A lot of jokes that didn't carry over to the TV show. A lot more emphasis on death, on a fascination with witchcraft and dark magic.
You can really see the influence for the latest cartoon that our kid likes from the makers of Futurama. Help me out here.
Oh, Disenchanted?
Yeah, look at the mother. Look at the tentacles on her dress here.
Yeah, you're right. That is like
I mean, look, it's
Dagmar?
Like Dagmar.
In appearance, they are more sort of grotesque than they appear in the TV show. The TV show starts in 1964. Now, the same time, CBS is developing. CBS is developing the Munsters, and the creator of the Munsters said, like openly later said, "Yeah, we were just ripping off the Addams Family cartoons, with our show."
Okay, but was not aware of the show coming out. It was just a coincidence that they both.
That's right.
Okay,
so ABC.
What do you call that? Twin movies? Twin shows?
Yes. There's something in the air. It's the time is now for. This was a period of like the high concept TV show, like My Mother the Car. Wow. I think maybe it's a little past Bewitched, but I Dream of Genies out there. Green Acres.
Right. Super fish out of water. There's always a straight man with a weirdo.
And there's some kind of supernatural element or some sort of magical
Not Green Acres, but
thing.
Yeah. Wait. Mr. Ed, Talking Horse.
Yeah. Yeah. TV was weird. Mm-hmm. So ABC wants to develop a TV show, and they secure the rights to Addams' cartoons. So he finally has to give them names. Although it turns out Morticia and Wednesday were named in officially licensed dolls that came out the previous year. So it's not totally accurate to say the TV show named all the characters.
Okay.
But Charles Addams is working with a man named David Levy, who's developing the show. They soften the family. They emphasize the comedy and the zaniness over the morbidity, and the characters are less weird looking. It does become a little more wholesome, a little less weird. They work together on naming the characters. I think this is where Gomez becomes like canonically a man of Latino heritage.
Okay.
Whereas he wasn't in the cartoons. But
right.
The actor they cast is Latino. So that becomes an intrinsic part of his character. The TV show it's a hit. It's not a giant hit. It finishes 23rd in the ratings for the year. If any TV show got the ratings today that it got, it would be the biggest thing in a decade. But no.
Okay.
The Munsters did finish ahead of it, but both of them only ran for 2 years, 64 total episodes of the Addams Family TV show. But this show introduced the family, gave a lot of the characteristics, and probably most famously the theme song.
Totally. And can I ask, are Thing and or It in the show?
Both in the show.
Okay. Flora and fauna.
I believe so.
Okay. Oh, any of the outer world characters? There aren't reoccurring ones in the two movies, but I wondered, does he have an attorney? Are they rich? Do they explain?
They're rich. Okay. I don't know how
they would have to be, because they can't send either of them to work. They need to just be independently wealthy so that they can just be in their house and be kooky all the time.
This is some sort of heir, some sort of great family of great wealth. The first episode has like the school truancy officer comes to interview the family because he says, your kids need to be in school. And this is like our introduction to the world, because he goes and meets each member of the family and is like, bah! Lots of double takes. Oh, okay, this is normal. You're throwing swords at each other. Swords at each other. The kids then go to school, and then they come home and tell their parents what they learned. And they're like, we read a story about a knight who slays a dragon, and the parents freak out like, that poor innocent dragon. Yeah, it's charming. It's sweet. that's the Addams Family TV show. So what next? Well,
that wig, this poor woman in that wig. Looking at the TV show pictures here. We will put those on screen. Podcast. Go look at YouTube, please. Thank you so much.
There is a Hanna-Barbera animated series in 1973. This follows an appearance by the Addams Family on a Scooby-Doo episode in 1972 that was very well received. But this show did change the relationship of the family. Uncle Fester in the series in the live action show was Morticia's uncle, and then in the animated show he is instead Gomez's brother, and that then becomes the canon relationship.
It's funny that they're trying to show a family that's so other, that's so weird, so not the norm, and so of course there's a matriarch and not a patriarch. I mean, the mom seems to have always been a significant pants wearer, even though she's got very tight dresses. But how unique to make a wife taller than the husband. Can you think of any other time where this happened, except for maybe like the honeymooners? And I don't even think then. Just think of that man as short.
No, I can't.
He's not.
I can't.
So strange.
They're being horny for each other, or just they're a married couple who have a good relationship, who love each other and are partners,
are in the house all day long together, and that's not boring.
Mm-hmm. Was sort of revolutionary. If you see quotes from people who worked on the movie who talk about their relationship to the show growing up or to the cartoons, they always point that out. They're like, this is my only notion that a married couple, because married couples in TV you're driving each other crazy. If you're married, you're supposed to hate each other. You're supposed to be bitter enemies.
Yeah, it's not until divorce becomes something universally accepted that you can start having loving couples in shows, because that's people's outlet. People are miserable. They want to see miserable people reflected. It's going to seem other to have such loving. I mean, it was definitely, it wasn't the rule. It was the exception. I know things.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Don't look it up.
Fine.
Okay.
All right. The original cast reunited for a special in 1977, including the children from the show who are now adults. So they're there as their adult selves, but now the family has a Wednesday Jr. and a Pugsley Jr.
Okay.
All right. So then we get to our movies.
Thank Jesus.
1991 and 1993. It all started with Scott Rudin. I feel like Scott Rudin is haunting our podcast, but we do talk about movies from the 90s a lot, and he was everywhere at the time. So he produced The First Wives Club, Clueless, South Park movies we've talked about before. And then, he's the face of Mean 2, of abusive bosses who are abusive to their subordinates.
Oh, Mean 2 instead of Me Too. You always know the words.
I'm a word guy.
Now you got your finger inside of a pulse.
He was, at the time, the head of production at Fox, and he pitched the idea, let's do an Addams Family movie, but let's adapt the original New Yorker cartoons rather than the cheesy sitcom. They like this idea, but they find out that a company called Orion Pictures owns the movie rights, and they want to develop their own movie. But then Scott Rudin leaves Fox, and Orion brings him aboard to take control of the Addams Family project. That
seems like cheating. What the hell? I don't know. It seems like insider trading. No,
I don't know. Maybe that stuff happens all the time. But I don't know.
All right, then.
Probably not right. Who knows?
I don't know.
We're not Hollywood insiders. Mm-hmm. They write a script. The script is written by Larry Wilson, who we talked about on Beetlejuice, and his partner Caroline Thompson, and then gets rewritten by Paul Rudnick. It seems like Paul Rudnick is maybe the dominant voice on both of these movies. Hello. They're trying to find a director. What weird twisted mind could helm this project?
I'm glad they didn't go with Tim Burton for this. I'm sorry, Tim Burton. Burton. That's who's on the screen. I feel like I can predict where the weirdness would go, and it wouldn't curve back to the wholesomeness that I find so endearing.
Maybe, but I think he would have done a good job, especially at the time. Because he was very comedy focused. These movies are very funny. I think they're pretty well directed. They probably would have been a little bit different, but it makes sense both in terms of the subject matter and it being a comedy. It makes sense. They're basically going to do a Beetlejuice movie.
It makes complete sense.
Yes. I cannot find the reason that he didn't come aboard, but he was so busy at the time. And he is basically linked to the Addams Family projects for the entirety of the rest of time. For a while, they were developing a stop motion animated movie that he was going to direct that never happened. But of course, now he is in charge of Wednesday on Netflix.
Right. Did he consult on this?
No
That is interesting. It feels like he birthed this.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't even seem like they need him to direct it. It's like, no. We've already Tim Burton this up.
Yeah, they don't even need him. So enter Barry Sonnenfeld.
Oh, okay.
Barry Sonnenfeld, the director of both Addams Family and Addams Family Values. This was his first movie as a director. Before that, he was very accomplished director of photography, worked with the Coen brothers a lot, also worked on Big and When Harry Met Sally.
Ooh.
So after this, he goes on to direct Addams Family Values, Get Shorty, Men in Black, and its sequels, past episode of Lloyd Brainbeam's Wild Wild West.
Hell yeah.
Which seems to put him in movie jail, because after that, his credits are RV and 9 Lives.
God, why do they do Wild Wild West so dirty? Because
do we like Wild Wild West? I don't remember.
I've reset. No, we didn't. No.
I think you liked it on our episode, though. And I didn't mind it.
You didn't mind it. It's just, they had a hard time figuring out who was supposed to be the straight man, who was supposed to be the funny man. The chemistry wasn't completely there between Will Smith and Kevin Kline.
Really?
They're both funny, but they're not a perfect pair. The way, tell me Men in Black man's name, please.
Tommy Lee Jones.
There you go. Him and Will Smith are just kind of, you can't beat that pairing. But
Sonnenfeld, his 90s were, he was red hot for a while. I'm trying to pick up on what the thread is. Addams Family and Men in Black make a lot of sense, but Get Shorty is just sort of funny gangsters and character actors and movie stars.
I almost feel like just riding a mobster wave on that one. Probably it's just the timing. Mob stuff was so big.
Recently he's just very busy on like a series of unfortunate events on Netflix and The Tick and lots of TV, a lot of work for him, for old Barry. So, who is Barry Sonnenfeld? He is a self-described neurotic. His autobiography is called Barry Sonnenfeld, Call Your Mother, Memoirs of a Neurotic Filmmaker. He threw up on the first day on set of Blood Simple for the Coen brothers, working for the Coen brothers. And he had a panic attack and passed out 3 weeks into filming Addams Family. And Scott Rudin, the producer, was going to shut down the production for the day, but Barry Sonnenfeld said, if we have to stop every time I faint or start to cry, we'll never get this movie done.
Oh my goodness.
This movie, Addams Family 1, was a very troubled production. They lost their original director of photography, Owen Roisman. He quit with 3 months left in the shoot, and he was replaced by a man named Gail Tattersall. But then Gail was rushed off to the hospital with weeks remaining, and he didn't return. So Barry Sonnenfeld had to just take over the cinematography. And this nearly drove him to another breakdown, having to be the director and also the cinematographer. Also, Raul Julia, the actor who plays Gomez, he burst a blood vessel in his eye. Barry Sonnenfeld's wife got hospitalized, and he had to start splitting his time between helping her in the hospital and, working on the movie. And most dramatically is Orion Pictures, which was making the film, basically went bankrupt during the middle of production. Orion is this interesting story in Hollywood history where 1990, they produced Dances with Wolves. 1991, they produced Silence of the Lambs. So they win back-to-back Best Pictures, but everything else they produce is crap and loses them a lot of money, and they're hemorrhaging money. And during production of this, they don't have enough money to finish the movie, but also the Addams Family movie is like their only asset they have left. So they sell it to Paramount, who come aboard. You think about like things like these, these studios, they all seem like they're interchangeable, but they all have their own distinct cultures and
they all have their own people at the helm.
Yeah.
That's got to change. It's just like every 4 years.
And
in the White House, I couldn't get my thought out. Sorry, not even a good analogy. Continue.
Well, and their reputation was they were friendly to filmmakers. They'll take flyers on people, like Barry Sonnenfeld as a first-time director. And he said it was very difficult to go from Orion to Paramount, which had a completely different culture. And so there's this interview with him in Variety from 2021. And he said that So Paramount takes over halfway through the making of this movie, and the head of Paramount screens what they have so far, and he says this is uncuttable and unreleasable. And Barry, this is what he says, quote, "The whole second half of the shoot, we were working for a studio that thought we were uncuttable and unreleasable, so things got more difficult. They stopped letting us have bottled water on the set, not for environmental reasons, but to cut down costs. It was not a well-loved project while we were making it, which made it that much harder as a first-time director. I showed my director's cut to executives at Paramount, and there was not a single laugh. Then I was called into the office about 20 minutes later after they had discussed everything, and everyone was there except Stanley. Stanley Jaffe, the head of Paramount. Stanley, and they were hugging me and clapping. I said, what are you doing?
What?
I was in that screening room. There was not a single laugh. They told me that since Stanley wasn't laughing, they couldn't." End quote.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. Mean too.
Especially, you're a guy like him who's always constantly having panic attacks and
unreliable narrator.
True. Yeah.
In a way, if he was nervous about something, okay. Call the press.
The movie was slightly over budget, but only by $5 million. It still only ended up costing $30 million. Test screenings were an issue. They, most notably, the test audiences hated the Mamushka sequence.
I love that.
And so they cut it way down.
Okay, well, I don't think I'd like a lot more of it.
Because there is an edition that you can buy on Blu-ray called the More Mamushka edition.
Thank you. I had just enough.
But it's a hit. It's an enormous hit.
Oh, wow.
Actually, $114 million at the domestic box office gross. If you adjust it for inflation, it made $434 million worldwide. It was the seventh biggest movie of 1991.
Let's go.
They're going to make a sequel. But before they decide to greenlight a sequel, Paramount approaches Barry Sonnenfeld about making Forrest Gump, which they had acquired. They had acquired the book Forrest Gump. Mm-hmm. And he had a great relationship with Tom Hanks because he was the DP on Big. Yes. And so he's the one who brought Tom Hanks on to Forrest Gump. And then he's basically, once they decide to move forward with Addams Family Values, they say you have to decide between Forrest Gump and Addams Family Values.
What?
And he said it took him, this basically haunted him for years afterward, that he could have made Forrest Gump. And Addams Family Values was not a big hit, and it was a disappointment. But he did say he eventually came to peace with it because he avoided seeing Forrest Gump for a long time, and then finally made himself watch it and realized I would never have made the movie this way. So
yeah,
so
whatever success, right? Whatever success it had, it would have had nothing to do with what my success would have been.
I would have made a totally different movie. Who knows what would have happened? Uh-huh. Yeah. So they're moving forward with the sequel. They're bringing back everybody. They have Paul Rudnick writing the script for Addams Family Values, and he wants to be more political this time around. The title comes from a speech that the Vice President Dan Quayle was giving, where he talked about the Los Angeles riots of 1992 and blamed them on a decline of family values. Jesus. This is around the time that George Bush said that America needs to be more like the Waltons and less like the Simpsons. So,
fingering the pulse as usual.
They wanted a movie that's more political, and they want more of a featuring role for Christina Ricci. Yeah.
What did she done anything? Did she do Cat? Nope. She's still too young. God, I don't even know. Was there anything between the two?
I don't know if there was anything between the two. I have a slide on her later, but
great.
She was in the movie. What is it called? What is Mermaid with Winona Ryder? Mermaids. She's Winona Ryder's little sister.
Okay.
And then she gets cast as Wednesday and then makes the sequel. And after that is Casper and Now and Then and all of that.
Yeah. She was quite the Tiger Beat, I'm assuming. That's a magazine of how you keep up with your famous people of the time who are under 18. Tiger Beat.
The production's much smoother this time around. Everybody's happy, has big hopes and expectations. The budget is double the previous one. Judith Malina is replaced as Grandmama Addams. She's replaced with Carol Kane. The reason given is that
Carol Kane rocks.
More demanding role.
Yeah.
Physically demanding role.
Oh.
And Carol Kane had worked with all the other adults in the past. With Christopher Lloyd on Taxi and with Anjelica Huston and Raul.
Sounds like a load of bullshit. Carol Kane's just better.
I prefer the first one.
What? What?
I prefer the first grandma a lot.
So funny.
It's not a disaster. It makes $48 million, but that's like, it barely makes back its budget. You know, it's made tons of money since then on home video and everything, but this sequels didn't do great back in the day, and they never make a third movie. They never discuss making a third movie. All right, let's just spotlight a few of the actors. I feel like, you know, we've talked plenty about Anjelica Huston and Christopher Lloyd in the past. So let's talk about Raul Julia, who plays Gomez.
It feels like he kind of falls off the map after these movies.
Well, he dies.
He plummeted off the map.
He was suffering from stomach cancer even during the first movie.
Oh.
He died 1 year after the second movie. And he was really struggling during the filming of the second movie.
Oh, that's really, they'll leave it to you. Make me sad.
So here's what Barry Sonnenfeld said about casting Anjelica Huston and Raul Julia. Quote, I felt the IP, which was Charles Addams' drawings, was going to be our sales point. For a while, Orion really wanted Cher to play Morticia. I don't really...
I swear to God, they always interchange these tall, exotic women with larger than your average, conventional, attractive person nose size. Jesus Christ. This is the second time.
I just listened to our episode on the witches.
Yeah.
Where we have a 15-minute conversation about this and you yell at me.
Right, because it's the same people. It's the same people that they're going to switch in and out. Yes.
But they're always going for the same roles and they're always playing witches. Of Eastwick or just witches.
She's not a witch here.
I know she's not a witch, but she's the witch in the witches.
Fine. Continue.
So Raul Julia, born in 1940 in San Juan, Puerto Rico, basically legendary stage actor, nominated for many Tonys, and then he won a posthumous Emmy and Golden Globe for the HBO film The Burning Season. But he died 1 year after Addams Family Values at age 54. And he is wonderful in these movies.
Yes.
Feel like
so much energy.
One thing that I knock Addams Family Values some points for is Morticia and Gomez really get sidelined. I felt kind of like it's like Bob's Burgers. Like you think it's the show you're making about these two parents who run this burger restaurant, but then they really are only interested in the kids in their junior high adventures.
Well, that's because you only watch Bob's Burgers half the time. But yeah, fine.
No, I miss the parents in the second movie, especially.
Yeah, it takes a hell of a person to match Christopher Lloyd's energy, and I think this actor does a good job. They are equally enthusiastic about the bullshit they get up to.
And then Christina Ricci, who is 11 during the first Addams Family and 13 during the second Addams Family, and after this movie, she has Casper, she has Sleepy Hollow and That Darn Cat, Monster and Speed Racer, and recently she's kind of a little bit of a comeback in Yellow Jackets, and she is on the Wednesday show, not playing Wednesday, but she's on it.
Okay.
That's enough background.
Okay.
Let's talk about the movie, Addams Family Values.